George H.W. Bush was born in Massachusetts and attended Yale University. He served in the military as a naval pilot in World War II and eventually became president of an offshore oil drilling company. He was also ambassador to the United Nations and head of the liaison office to the PRC. He was also the CIA director. He defeated the Democratic governor of Massachusetts, Michael Dukakis, in order to win the presidency. Under George H.W. Bush, there was an economic recession between 1990 and 1992, resulting in unemployment rising to 7.1% as the highest point in 7 years. Additionally, he proposed a bailout plan which gave $50 billion in government bonds to finance the bailout of troubled savings and loans banks, giving the FDIC more regulatory power. The Financial Institutions Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act of 1989 gave $166 billion on loans and creates the Resolution Trust Company to oversee merging and liquidation of troubled banks. Finally, he increased taxes in a campaign promised not to increase taxes, in which he said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." Somewhat hypocritical on his part. Additionally, he increased funding for AIDS research and signed a new budget plan to decrease federal budget by $500 billion. Finally, he supports the Unemployment Compensation Act, adding an additional 26 weeks of unemployment benefits.
There are few clear areas in which we as a society must rise up united and express our intolerance. The most obvious now is drugs. And when that first cocaine was smuggled in on a ship, it may as well have been a deadly bacteria, so much as it hurt the body, the soul of our country.
In terms of his legislation, he instigated the war on drugs, frightening the population into obedience with the phrase narco-terrorism threat. He encouraged third world farmers to grow legitimate crops, alternative development, as it were. Additionally, George H.W. Bush provided military aid to the hemisphere, which was way more than humanitarian aid, and he proposed a temporary ban on semi-automatic rifles despite his campaign promises. In education, he proposed the America 2000 bill, in which public funds are used to send children to schools of their choice. He urged national achievement tests and created 535 new schools. In the discrimination category, George H.W. Bush vetoed a bill designed to overturn restrictions on abortion that passed through Congress. Additionally, he signed the Americans with Disabilities Act to prevent discrimination against those with disabilities. In the environment, he signed the Clean Air Act, which tightened air pollution standards and sought to reduce urban smog, cut acid rain pollution by 1/2, and eliminated industrial emissions of toxic chemicals by the end of the 20th century.
I'm not sure we've absorbed the full impact, the full import of what happened. But communism died this year.
One important facet was dealing with communism. Bush supported Mikhail Gorbachev in Russia, but he resigned after hardline communist coup failed, replaced with Boris Yeltsin in Russia. The Berlin Wall was taken down during his term, as well as the collapse of the Soviet Union. Finally, he condemned the Tiananmen Square massacre in PRC by stopping minor arms sales to China.
1 year ago, the people of Panama lived in fear under the thumb of a dictator. Today, democracy is restored. Panama is free.
George Bush overthrew the corrupt regime of General Manuel Noriega in Panama because he was indicted on drug trafficking charges in the U.S.
Less than a week ago, in the early morning hours of August 2nd, Iraqi armed forces, without provocation or warning, invaded a peaceful Kuwait. Facing negligible resistance from its much smaller neighbor, Iraq's tanks stormed in blitzkrieg fashion through Kuwait.
In Kuwait, he had Operation Desert Storm, in which troops went in to liberate Kuwait from Saddam Hussein. 425,000 American troops as well as 118,000 troops from allied nations were involved. The ceasefire was achieved on February 28, 1991. America has sent Somalia under George Bush 200,000 tons of food. The distribution system broke down because of gangs in Somalia, and pilots have flown over 1,400 flights, delivering over 17,000 tons of food aid. In terms of Bush's legacy, he was mainly known for his foreign policies, especially those regarding Iraq and Operation Desert Storm, Panama and dictator Manuel Noriega, and ending the Cold War.
And so, we move on together. A rising nation, the once and future miracle that is still, this night, the hope of the world. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless our beloved country. Thank you very, very much.